Hey, this is Mike Gingerich with another Live with Mike coming at you from my home location. And that's what we're doing these remote days, right? Is doing it from oftentimes home. And I'm no different than that. Our team works remotely often. One of the keys, though, is I'm testing out a new tool for this live um, because I'm using StreamYard, and it's a live streaming tool that with the free version allows you to go live on one platform like I'm doing now on a Facebook page, and with a paid platform, you can go live on multiple, with a paid subscription, you can go live on multiple platforms simultaneously, such as Facebook, and at the same time, LinkedIn, at the same time, YouTube, that type of thing. So testing this out, and want to do that because it gives me a desktop option, since Facebook has kind of taken away the option to go live on a page from the desktop. You can do that on like a tablet or mobile now. So this gives you an opportunity to do that. But I want to talk about today, that's one of the things I want to talk about is related to that. It's the need to pivot. Okay. Um, Times for change demand that we change how we go about things. And we're in one of those time periods right now, unprecedented, uncharted, with COVID-19, the coronavirus, and all the quarantine lockdowns that have resulted from that, for trying to what they call flatten the curve to get this spreading stopped. And I mean, just incredible, isn't it? Massive, what's happening globally, and we're still rolling it out. So what it means, particularly for many businesses, when there's this quarantine, you have to do that, is that you have to pivot. Okay, and so I want to talk about pivoting today, and I want to talk about the opportunity to pivot well or pivot not so well for your business, for you as a person, that type of thing, and how you go through, handle that change. So times of change necessitate that you change. And this is an example of a pivot for me, which is a minor pivot, okay? And that is trying out a new tool for doing some of the same things that I need. So using StreamYard for going live on Facebook, and taking a look at how that works, and beginning to use that type of tool in what I do. So to pivot is to be going in a certain direction, and then to need to make a shift in that direction. So you can pivot. A massive pivot would be a 180-degree pivot, where you have to go all the way around. But oftentimes pivots can be subtle changes of direction, degree shifts, and that is often necessary in a time of change. And so you have lots of questions facing you as a business leader, as a marketer, at these times. And I think there are good ways and bad ways of dealing with those. So we're seeing various kinds of decisions being made by businesses on how they run their operations, how they handle work with their teams. Um, what they do with customers and clients, and all of those things are kind of the opportunities to make or break your brand, make or break your business, make or break where you go beyond this. And so you need to take a look at how you do that. One of the guys that I like to listen to is Simon Sinek, Sinek. Simon Sinek, who has some great information on around that topic of change, pivot, how you do those things. And he's got some innovative ideas, some things that are about the greatest good for the most people. So how do you work well, to keep your business going, but also work well with your team, also work well with your customers, clients. He's got some innovative ideas around that, rather than just some of the what I call kind of old-fashioned black and white stuff that is perhaps harsher, and not as relationship oriented, not as long-term oriented in those types of pieces, and takes a look at saying, from the perspective of we need to make some changes, but we are all in this together. So how do we go about that and work at that collaboratively, so that everyone is getting through this and everyone is moving forward, everyone is, and so that requires some pivots on those kind of things. So number one, for your business, you may need to be taking a look at some operational changes. Maybe the team is working remotely. So how do you do that? Working at, procedures for, cloud-based operation for your team, is going to be important. And things, tools, whether it's Dropbox, we've used Google Drive, all those kinds of things where you can access documents, access information for your team internally online, QuickBooks online, or Wave accounting online. Just your what are your business functions? What are your business operations? Can you do those online? Can you move those online? And so that's a key need, is to take a look at your business operations. What can you do to begin pivoting those, moving some of those online? So again, a pivot may be that you go from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online, right? So that's a pivot. It's something that is not completely a wholesale change, but it is a different steps, and maybe a familiar tool, but in a different way. Now it's accessible online, different people, those types of things. So take a look at your business operations. And then internally, what are you going to use for communication internally? Do you need a chat tool like Google Hangouts or Slack? Do you need a internal meeting tools such as Google Hangouts again, or Zoom, those types of pieces then? Okay, so internal business operations, communication, all that. I got a few resources on that, and particularly the need to communicate more and set up different patterns of communication so that people stay connected to the team internally. So take care of your internal team there. Figure out a pathway. How is the team going to be able to carry forward, and thinking through that, not just from a individualistic standpoint, but from a collective standpoint. How do we get everyone through this together? So the second thing then is to take a look at some of your client communications and those types of pieces as the existing clients. What do you need to do to communicate with them? What do you need to do to work with them when they come and say, hey, we're looking at doing X, we're looking at doing Y. Do you need to encourage them to think through another alternative, Z, those types of pieces? So can you be helpful in that process with existing customers, and work well with them to again, do that collective good, saying how can we all get through this together? And that's going to build some loyalty, build some trust, those things over time. And then the third area is to take a look at how do you go about new sales processes, procedures, that type of thing. Maybe you need to do a different product, but maybe you need to adjust how you go about the sales process. So have some friends in the financial advisor community, and their big sales mechanism in the past was in-person events. So you want to talk about investing in the IRA, those type of things. Learn about that process. You put out a event that you're going to host, and you get everybody to come somewhere. You fill up a room of 40 people, and that out of that, there's going to be 10 of them, they're going to be interested in talking further after that with a one-on-one meeting with you. And then there's going to be 5 of those that are going to choose you to do their investments with. And so that was their business model and that type of thing. Now you can't do that with the quarantine, right? So what do they need to do? And so they're pivoting. So they're doing some of the same things, but you got to take the processes online. So we're taking a look at Zoom webinar and Zoom meeting. Zoom webinar is kind of that one-to-many approach, right? So you can communicate to people. You can let them know on Facebook, via email, on your website. You can advertise those types of pieces, and you get them to come over. You get them to sign up. You get them to come to an event. Make sure that you give them instructions on how to download the software. If it's like Zoom, where it's going to take 3 or 4 minutes the first time to download the software, get it ready. Download the app if it's on your mobile phone or your tablet, and get up so that they're ready. and then they're in a webinar setting. So it's like one to many, one person speaking to many. They can put questions in there, that type of thing. And that's the business model shift then. So it's a pivot. You're doing some of the same things. You can do some of the same course material, but now you're doing it online. They're seeing you. You can share your screen as well so that they see, the material you're presenting on screen, and both you and the material. That's a beautiful way to do it. But that's a pivot and a shift that you may need to take a look at with your processes. It doesn't mean you need to stop. It doesn't mean you need to, but it does mean you need to think through and pivot, change your processes to help that happen, get in order, and get moving. And there's going to be different changes along with that. Like I said, how you can do your marketing maybe a little differently online. With that, you may have to also change some of your materials. You have to prep them, if it is Zoom, to download that, to give instructions on that, to say, hey, you need to get on there 5 minutes beforehand and download that the software. Make sure you get set up so that at the top of the hour when we start, you're ready to go. So allowing them to guiding them through that process. So there needs to be communication about those kind of pieces there, and so I think those are keys. You need to take a look at the mindset on that, the pivot. You need to make some changes, so it's a pivot. But do you need to not do black and white wholesale? Yes or no, I'm not going to do this, but can you do a shift and say we can change this model and do it this way? We can keep going in this way. How do you think in a process of let's get through this together, everybody making it through, as opposed to an individualistic mindset saying, I'm going to make it through whatever happens, that type of piece. How can you be helpful? Take a look at your business processes, take a look at your collaborations, communications, interactions with customers. I think everybody becomes a consultant to some degree at this point in time. You got to work with people, help them think through. They may not be thinking clearly all the time as well, but can you invite them to engage with you in conversation so that you can find something that's mutually beneficial and helpful along the way? How do you work with your team? Okay, how do you work with the team? We're going to get through this together. And then how do you work with new sales, those prospects that are out there, to change your processes to reach new ones? Once you've got them thinking through that financial advisor strategy, they can do that webinar. They've got those connections. Then out of that, they stay in touch with people, maybe follow up email. Is anyone interested in a one-on-one after that? Then they set up the Zoom meeting after that, where it can be the one-on-one video conference call, so they can keep going and conduct those types of meetings and get that process going. But being aware of how they can handle those things, and what do they need to move to the cloud, their CRM system, all those kind of pieces, accounting system, what other processes, file system can you move to the cloud so that your team has access to everything they need to, and you guys can keep going on work. So those are some of the things that are key under this large umbrella of pivot in a time of change that I wanted to offer to you. Okay, so that's Live with Mike today, doing it well with a pivot. There is a good way to pivot and a bad way. Think through ways that you can do it well. Think in terms of how do we get through this together. All right, this is Mike, Live with Mike. Take care.